they submerge themselves in the astral light. And those values, by virtue of the cosmic law of magnetism, they will start attracting and repelling with other values just based on that law. So as we leave our physical body behind, Morpheus can help educate us on what to do, where to go. Morpheus can be with us and help us identify specific symbols so that we do not take anything for granted. So we ask our innermost Divine Father, we ask of you that you bring forth that aspect of you that is the master of dream yoga. Morpheus, 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 we invoke you. Come to us. Come to us. Come to us. And then we can say, powerful God of dreams, give us the education, the knowledge, and the guidance that is necessary so that we can make the most out of this particular dream experience. And once you have done that invocation, turn on yourself. Samael says, assume the posture of the lion. And this is not only a very comfortable posture to go to sleep, but it is also one that you will notice that it will give you the best ability to bring back those memories. Because in this posture of the lion, notice that you will be resting on your right side. You will allow you will use your right arm and you will bend it and you will just rest your head on the palm of your right hand. And as you are resting on your side, bring your knees up towards your chest. Not too much, just enough to create that natural 90-degree bend if you can get up to that. And as you're resting on your right hand side, with your head resting on the palm of your right hand, and your left leg resting over the right one, just take your left hand and let it rest comfortably over your left hip, over your left hip. And in this posture, simply close your eyes, continue breathing in through your nose and out through your nose. If you happen to snore, check yourself and see if you are breathing.
This one's got to be reamed.
Deep in your belly, or if you're breathing
I need a
from
container for
about
those
high
that need to
in
be
your chest.
reamed.
If you happen to be breathing
Here, is one of those
from
empty?
deep in your belly, what experience has shown is that
One of those has to be
as you
empty.
inhale, you seem to create like a larger
You
vacuum
just
that
put the one
invites
that's in
that
there.
snoring to be more aggressive. If you
I
breathe
guarantee
in
one of those is completely empty.
from your lungs and center on top of your lungs, you continue to satisfy your oxygen demands,
I guess
and
I
the
lost some.
snoring will either be reduced or perhaps be eliminated. So keep an eye on that, just also as a
I don't need the
courtesy
top.
to your beloved spouse. So as we have looked into our habits, as we have prepared our bedroom, as we have set the right music, and we have made the necessary invocations to
Might as well use this one now.
memories to invoke Morpheus, the god of dreams, and we have assumed the lion posture. The moment that you wake up, do not. From the moment that you wake up, and in that moment between being awake and before opening your eyes, dear friends, start right then and there your retrospective exercise. Look back and identify what was the last image that you recall from that dream, and start walking backwards in your dream and retrieve every single
I want to do 3 knots on this one because it's such a wide
The more you do that,
hole.
the better you get at doing this work. And if you have been doing your daily retrospective exercise before going to bed, you will see that then doing this becomes
Sweet.
so much more easy. easier. Now, there is one thing that you really need to do, is that as you start doing this practice, once you complete the exercise of retrospection, to make this a ritual, you have planned, you have actually executed, you have done your exercise of retrospection to see what is it that you learned. Keep your Gnostic journal under your pillow. Make sure that you have either a really good quality pen that is not going to mess up your bed, or a good pencil. And keep your pencil, your pen, and your Gnostic journal within arm's reach so that you don't have to move too much. Because the moment that you awake, as you recall all of those experiences, as you once again remember what you said, what you felt, where you were, what you experienced, write down as much detail as you can capture in your Gnostic journal. Even if at first all you remember is a single mental image frame, write down everything that you can recall, what you saw, what you heard, what you tasted, what you smelled, what you felt, what you perceived while you were in that mental image frame. Just write it all down. It is important that you write all of these things down, because when we interpret dreams, we will always rely on 4 basic laws for their interpretation. So if you happen to have your notebook, take note. We will always make use of the principle of correspondence. That is the principle that states, as above, so below. That means that if you see yourself in a dream exchanging with the police, and the police would arrest you, well, that means that you are in debt with the law. If you have a dream with the police, but the police, they do not arrest you, they do not intervene with you, well, that means that the law is observing. Notice how this principle of correspondence lets us understand what is happening up there based on what we know that happens down here. Principle of correspondence. As above, so below. The second law is called the principle or the law of analogies. Philosophical analogies. If you happen to see yourself walking in a path, and this path is very well paved, and when you look down, you see that your shoes are brand new shoes, that is an indication that you are walking correctly in the path, that you are doing the right work, meaning that you're bringing forth the right tenacity, the right discipline, and that you are being demanding with your work. On the contrary, if you look down and you're walking on a very rough path, that is muddy or full of rocks, and you happen to be barefoot, well, that is an indication that maybe you have to revisit how you are living your days, how you are managing those reactions. How is it that you're dealing with the transformation of the impressions that you're receiving on a constant day-to-day basis? The third law is called the law of opposites. And this one applies really well when it comes to the emotions. Because if you happen to be in your dream and you see yourself dancing and celebrating, that is an indication that
I'm learning you have to see when you're making these mistakes as soon as you can, or else it's going to end up all weird like some of the ones I started on.
In the same token, if you happen to see yourself eating candy and sweets and cakes in your dream, based on the law of opposites, you can anticipate that as you start seeing what is happening in the coming days, you're going to be facing a series of fairly sour circumstances. So notice, in this very simple sequence of these 3 laws, philosophical analogies, the principle of correspondence, and the law of opposites, if you happen to be seeing yourself
holding the knot that you're making on the bead as far down as you can.
The wedding is over and you see yourself walking, and when you look down, you are barefoot on a
Not
muddy
just talking to
path.
them, just
A cop shows up and arrests you.
recording everything.
Well, you can imagine that there will be some very interesting events happening in the upcoming days. And this is good. There is no reason for us to be shying from the difficult moments and circumstances of life, because this is a good, ample, preemptive warning on the things that are about to come. And what does this do for us? It gives us the opportunity to make ourselves even more ready, to be more keen in how is it that we're perceiving the circumstances around us. And perhaps that heightened awareness becomes enough for you to not react in a certain way, to catch yourself before you say something that perhaps you could regret at a later time, and avoid those difficult moments. So just because we see these things, we don't have to be traumatized and thinking that the world is ending and that something really bad is going to happen. Because the fact is, dear friends, is that the anticipation of death is always worse than death itself.
This one's also got a really wide hole.
Is called the law of numbers. And here we will interpret the numbers based on their Kabbalistic significance. Anything and any time that we see the number 5, whether you are receiving 5 coins or you're seeing the number 5 on a clock on the wall, or somebody is telling you that the price of something is 5 or 500, that Kabbalistic addition, those numbers, add them together and synthesize them to the last digit. And that will give us, based on the law number, what is the meaning of it, whatever it is in your dream. Number 1 is always associated with the Father. It is always associated with originating ideas so that circumstances can change. The number 2 is always associated to the Divine Mother, to our Mother who loves us so much. But it is also associated to the
0 is more the mother than 2.
The number 3, it will always invite
2
you
is
to
like,
things
I guess,
artistically with high
0 is like
aesthetics.
the mother to me.
4. The number 4 is always
That makes sense.
2 would be like
emperor,
the child or experiencing consciousness.
It's always associated with action
Yeah.
and consequence, conflicts.
I want a cookie.
You
Number
are a
6
cookie.
has to do with decisions,
You can have the last one, I don't mind.
defining oneself.
I'm just gonna have
It
it.
has to do with perceiving and
See,
identifying
I don't care if he
temptations.
was gonna tell me he could.
Number 7
have SpaghettiOs for breakfast.
Huh?
Is it frowned upon to have SpaghettiOs for breakfast?
I think it's frowned upon to have SpaghettiOs in general. Just red dye and processed meat. Yummy, yummy. It's kind of scary that, like, all the cheap children's food we have is like that. It's just red dye and processed meat. SpaghettiOs, ravioli.
With the light of your own oil lamp, which is the light of the universe. So there are
It's
4
not
laws.
a little too
Kinda
far.
sad.
The law of opposites,
Honestly.
philosophical
Because,
analogies,
like, what ends up happening is that
of correspondence.
if you eat enough of those,
This is
eventually it becomes, like, almost like they're addicted to eating.
dreams. We
Like my
don't
sister?
interpret our dreams.
Oh, red
by
dye is super
doing a Google
addictive.
search for interpreting dreams. We
My
do
sister
not
used to
do
eat, like,
dream
8
interpretation
cans of
by
fucking
going to a
spaghetti.
friend and saying, I dreamt.
That's, yeah, when I was a kid, anytime I eat SpaghettiOs,
For some people,
ravioli
they
and
will
stuff,
see
I could not
rain
stop.
in their dreams, and based on the principle of philosophical analogies,
I'd eat
rain
like
is
all
usually
of it in a day,
translated
and then
as
I'd just be
tears.
hungry the rest
So
of
you
the
can
fucking week.
anticipate that if you find yourself and there's rain falling on you,
And then you
there
end
will
up
be
fucking
some difficult times,
registering
either the next day
addiction.
or in the
Be
upcoming
careful
days.
where your foot is,
But we
that's
cannot
where the
just
needle
think
keeps
that it
falling.
is always like
I
that.
know.
Because
Please
if you
move it.
happen to be a
Don't just say,
person
I
who
know.
works on the land, if you're a farmer, If your day-to-day has to do with tilling the land and taking care of crops, when you see rain, that is a moment of great joy. It seems a blessing.
Promise you don't want a needle in your foot.
The innermost will give them to us individually,
I've had a needle in my foot.
just like this wisdom. It is the same anywhere and everywhere you go in the world, but it is shown different. The Aztecs, the Egyptians, the Maya, and the Nordics.
I get stressed and then I want to hit the vape and then I hit the vape and it makes my mouth feel bad and throat hurt and then I just get more stressed and I want to hit the vape more.
So we have to expect the same thing from the symbols that we will be receiving from our innermost. So, with this, if you see friends in your dream who cannot just be so naive and say, I saw my friend in the dream. Something is going to happen to my friend because he was eating candy or sweets or he was dancing. No, we cannot just think that. Dreams are symbolic. We have to ask ourselves, what does that friend
12,
represent?
15, 18,
Because some friends are
21,
source of
22,
inspiration.
23.
Other friends, because we don't, let's be sincere with ourselves, because we don't love them integrally. We say, I like you, but, and that is stuff that we have to work on ourselves, okay? But as we tend to identify ourselves with some defects that our friends reflect to us, the symbol of that friend may be a representation or a symbol of that very same defect. Whether it is a defect of gossip, or anger, or resentment, or lust, it doesn't matter. It is reflecting something to us. And if we happen to see a friend that reflects to us the defect of anger, and we see him dancing, and there's rain, well, it may be the right thing for you, depending on what that means to you, that is an indication in the upcoming days, as they come difficult circumstances. If you react with your anger, well, there will be suffering. So you need to keep an eye on that defect of anger so that you can continue to comprehend it and work its elimination. Same thing if you see your mother or your dad, or if you happen to see anyone else. They are symbolic. And let's remember, our Divine Mother, with her being the womb of all that has been created, she can assume any form. She can assume any shape. And our innermost will use all of the tools in its arsenal to communicate with us and give us the right message when the right message is needed. And this brings us into these things called archetypal dreams. These are dreams that come from the realm of the pure spirit. These are very personal, and we speak in terms of individual, particular dreams that have to do with your own esoteric matters. These archetypal dreams would give you an indication of your psychological state. They will give you an indication of what is your primary psychological
Some of these I gotta do like 4 knots on because the holes are so wide.
That primary psychological trait could be lust, or it could be anger, it could be greed.
Like
And it could
that
be
hole
greed for riches,
compared to like,
it could be greed for
wow,
spiritual
this one,
just as much
such
as
a
it could be
difference.
greed for the awakening of the consciousness that steals away from us any patience and any serenity.
Some of them are so thin, I still gotta make them wider.
This is what we see those archetypal dreams. These archetypal
I need to count before I put too many on.
Indication of successes as we have been
15,
able to
18,
undergo
21,
certain tests that could be perhaps associated with
22, 23, 24, 25, 26. Perfect. The next one I put on is going to be a
difficult things that happen
marker bead.
changes,
Got different
financial
beads for
hardships,
every 27th
difficulties,
bead.
having to change a job, moving to another state, conflicts in the family, all of these things associate themselves
Apparently
with
some
any and
mantras are
all
like,
of these tests.
you only need to do them 27 times instead of
These things we
108.
can see
Also helps you, like,
how well we dealt with those circumstances.
I think
They show us
all mantras are, like,
what else is it that we can
technically
learn,
supposed to be
but they also
repeated
can warn
108
us of
times
dangers.
for their effect. But, like,
They can give you an indication of
if it's,
the actions that you are taking today.
there's some, like,
As you become
27
blind by your own desires and
beads,
visions
like
of the consequences that you can see later. Because you see,
bracelet
many times
ones instead of the
we
necklaces,
just-
but you're
Yeah.
just supposed to go
we just
around
put
them
on our
4
tunnel
times
vision
instead
glasses when it comes to the things in
once.
life. And we tend to justify our mistakes and our
Yeah.
wrongdoings because that is what our demon of the mind does best. When we are ruled by our desires, we make use of our inferior negative will to be able to force our opinions and force changes into our lives. Sometimes we do that. And because we are so focused
Using
on what we want,
Russian jade.
even this is
I don't know what the other beads are made out of.
well-intended advice from the people who
They
love
just
us
a yellow shiny
is
rock.
taken as a judgment, as a criticism, as an accusation of being a bad person. And we fail to even apprehend the love and the kindness and even their fear, their ability to overcome their fear to tell us these things are so important. We discard all that. And we just project our own inferior aspects into their kindness and we say, they're accusing me, they don't know. They don't know me. And we keep plowing forward and we just keep hurting people in our path and leaving behind, all these bruises and stuff. And we will see these things. And we will not be surprised if suddenly you see yourself losing all your teeth.
It looks like they're uneven because of how
If you see yourself
spaced
walking
out the
with
first
both hands
27 I did
and your
are.
teeth on the hands as holding them, which is an indication that there has been a wrong protection, that you are broken,
6,
that you are making yourself vulnerable.
12,
And you
15,
know this because in this
18,
symbology,
21,
it is because of the sound box that our teeth create that we can
24,
adequately
25,
communicate with
26,
others.
27. Okay.
And when that does not
It's
exist,
gonna be
then
really sad
the
if I
word
did it
comes out
wrong because I was
muffled,
gonna
it's
have
not
to cut it
clear,
and start
it becomes
all the way back over.
affected in such a way that it is not as powerful as ability to communicate. You see? Don't be surprised if you're living a circumstance like that, and what you see in your dream is an airplane that is crashing. If you look around you, everything is on fire. Those are not prophetic dreams. It is only when we think that we are awake and developed, and we have noses, and we see that and we say, oh, I saw the future. The future is dying. That's not that. That is your innermost telling you, you really need to revisit what you're actually doing, because you are not following your will. And then there is this beautiful prayer that we would like to share with you. This is a very simple prayer that you can recite every night. And as you make adjustments to your bedroom, as you perfume your bed with those essential oils that are associated to your zodiac, as you burn your incense, as you set that beautiful art and you play that classical music, you will still be tempted to make use of your ability to manage the ideoplastic and create fantasies. You could drift off into sleep by arguing with somebody or by telling them that you
Yeah, I don't know if you can hear what is being talked about, but he's talking about don't use your dreams to live out fantasies.
That ability of the mind that ultimately is fueled by your own.
A lot of people advertise lucid dreaming with like, oh, you can have sex with anybody you want, you can go and blow up a building just to see what it's like. Don't do that. It just perpetuates
Divine
bad
Mother,
habits.
come unto me and insist.
It's supposed to be a learning opportunity, not recess.
Divine Mother, come to me.
If you want
Come to me.
recess,
Come to me. Do not see.
sit.
Divine Mother. Lord, I ask you, come to me. Come to me. Come to me. If you allow yourself to doze off,
Ask for guidance instead of trying to guide it.
You'll start noticing that there is the emergence of something.
Because you might think you're doing what you want and
The
stuff,
initiating
but
element is an image. Becomes very consistent, very pervasive.
really you could be just under the control of your own bodily forces rather than doing what you actually want.
Made that transition between the visual state into the sleep state. And this is a very useful thing to be able to discern and detect. Because the moment that you see that initiating element, you can choose to use it to remain there, allow your body to go to sleep, and for you to transition into the sleep state and remain keenly aware of everything that is happening. Or you see it, because you know that you are in that transition.
This is gonna be like way longer than it was last time.
And the moment you stand up, you have effectively left your body behind, and you will notice that you are consciously in the astral plane. And when you do that, all you have to do
Very excited.
is to invoke God Morpheus that you have already invoked with. Say, Morpheus, 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 come to me. You can ask Morpheus anything that you need. You can ask him to teach you about the practice of doing yoga. You can ask of him to help you refine this ritual, because this is, after all, tantric yoga. You can ask of your Divine Mother and invoke of her. She will come to you. You can ask of her to take you, so that you can receive the teaching directly from the lips of the masters. And in the condition that many of us are, well, maybe they do not let us walk into the precept, but maybe we can stay close by and still receive the wisdom. And it's still a beautiful experience. We will certainly not encourage you to ask your Divine Mother and say, take me where you know I deserve to be. Because the experience can be quite shocking. Tonantzin, Dodoinan, Divine Mother, with all my heart. I invoke you, come to me, come to me, come to me. And as you are repeating this constantly, you focus your mind into an exercise that is edifying and dignifying to the consciousness. And you are making the right use of your creative power as you make use of, as you model that ideoplastic, so that you can have enough of that energy left, so that you can then perceive.
Nice. Perfect.
At the time that you wake up, if you happen to be interrupted at night, whether it is to just do a quick trip to the bathroom, or maybe you just woke up with some noise because the dogs barked, etc., you can always willfully return into the dream. Just make sure that you keep fresh in your mind that last image. And as you once again assume the posture of the lion, and you close your eyes, and you calm down your physical body, you invoke that relaxation that you know very well how to invoke by asking your innermost. As you keep that image present in your mind, before long you will find yourself once again right then and right there. And you will be able to continue your dreams. We always like to share this, even though it is very common for many students who have experienced this on their own many, many times. The good thing about sharing it is that we have also seen that in many instances we have experienced some things, but we don't know that we know them until somebody tells us. So remember that you can always willfully return into your dreams. And as you get good into the practice of dream yoga, remember that what we're seeking whenever we're working with the fire is the illumination of our wings. Every time that we work with the fire, we are seeking the fire so that the fire itself can eliminate the defects. Because in turn, the fire has all the right to enable creation. So it helps remove what is not needed so that it can itself create what is needed for us. And as we continue working and comprehending our defects, whether it is with the practice of pranayama or those of you who are intimately associated and related to the super dynamic of love, we comprehend our defect and we always invoke of our divine mother Kundalini so that she may turn that defect that we have previously comprehended into a cosmic dust, so that she may help free up that consciousness, so that we can create that magnetic center of consciousness.
Oh.
When we do that,
Sorry.
eventually we will find ourselves with no need to dream.
Don't have to apologize to me. You're the one that's
We will find ourselves in
almost getting stuck with a needle.
enough magnetic active center that we will be able to unfold consciously in the astral body, and we will be
Just
able
don't
to
want to
just leave the
accidentally poke
physical
your
body
eye out.
so that it gets the rest that it needs, so that it recovers and rejuvenates from the effects of the day. And meanwhile, we will be able to walk into this fifth dimension that is the eternity, so that we can receive the teaching from the masters, so that we can effectively continue working in the awakening of our consciousness. When Brahma awakens, the dream stops. And there is a very funny anecdote. At one time, His Holiness the Dalai Lama, a solar man, good friend of Master Sanatapur, he was being interviewed by one of the Western journalists. And as the journalist is interviewing His Holiness, they asked the question, and what are your dreams about the future? And His Holiness, well, being a solar man who has no need to dream, he looked at him and he said, dreams? What is this dreams that you tell her? And he smiled, and yet she felt compelled to explain what she meant with dreams, not being able to apprehend the deep wisdom that he was then sharing with her. So there are four lights. As we work in the awakening of our consciousness, there is the light of revelation. There is the incremental light, the light of immediate realization, and the light of profound interior illumination. These four lights correspond to the faith that we need to develop, because the light of revelation is associated to that faith of clarity. Light of revelation, faith of clarity. It is the faith that comes whenever we find something that indeed emphasizes something that we already knew, that gives us the, I knew this, it's so good that I found this. That is the light. That incremental light is the light that we can perceive every time that we learn from the experiences of the masters. Whether we are reading of the fantastic life experiences of St. Francis of Assisi, or whether we are reading from the past lives of Saint Milan or whether we're reading the story of Hermes Trismegistus as it has been written in the Emerald Tables. As we see all of those experiences, that adds into that incremental light, because that builds in us the faith of one another. They experience that, and we have the opportunity to eventually be able to experience something similar. It tells us what we can anticipate. The light of immediate realization is the faith of certainty. That faith that when you are observing the sequences of causes and effects, that you come to see that if you alter a cause, you can change the effect. You eliminate a defect, and when that defect is not present, there are no more dramas associated to that defect, simply because the actor no longer exists. And the light of profound interior illumination, that is the unshakable faith. That is the state of use. That That is the faith of the great masters. Dream yoga helps us in the path of receiving these formats. Dream yoga helps us into the awakening of those four distinct faiths. Friends, we sourced our information today from Samael's work on Dream yoga and his lectures and the chapters that are written in the book. The secret doctrine of Malak, of course, is born from Dream yoga. So, dear friends, this is what we wanted to share today with you. Thank you so much for joining us this evening, and may all beings be happy.
Why are we getting an ad? Can you skip this? Let's listen ad in a different language.
Well, apparently it was over.
Well, yeah, but we're not supposed to get ads.
That was odd.
You should put on the Andrew Holocheck.
Okay.
Welcome to Deep Transformation, Self-Society Spirit. I'm Roger Walsh, and our co-host is John McQueen. And with us today is a man who has been a great inspiration to me. In fact, I just got out of a long meditation retreat, and I read very little on retreats, but I did take two of his books in as inspiration and also guidance for my practice. He is a character who's in some ways a double personality. By day, he is a doctor of dentistry, has had his profession in dentistry, and actually formed charitable organizations which provide dental service to internationally. But by night, he is a master of dream yoga, and he spends his nights traveling and teaching and traveling and learning in realms that are just unknown to most of us. And he's written a wonderful book, which has just opened a whole new world to me, this book, Dream Yoga, in which he describes the practice of dream yoga, which turns out to be a practice common to multiple spiritual traditions, but perhaps most fully articulated and mastered in the Tibetan Buddhist tradition, of which he is a long-time student. And so he has provided a map for all the practices of dream yoga, and even beyond dream yoga, practices in deep sleep. This is remarkable territory. So he's done also another work in death and dying, and provided books on working with spiritual challenges. So he's covered a lot of areas, but there's a lot to get into just in the dream yoga. So let's start with that. Andrew, welcome.
Roger, John, thank you so much. It's really a delight to spend some time with you. Appreciate it.
Well, it's a pleasure for us, and it's a pleasure for me, because I can honestly say that once we get to adulthood, our worldviews and our understanding of reality really doesn't change much. You have significantly changed.
That's about the size it was before I did it last time. We've only got like a little over half the beads on there.
And so,
It's gonna be like 9.
how did you discover this? And give us an overview.
Well, first of all, I'm so flattered by you that someone of your caliber would be so touched by my work. It means a lot to me personally. Yeah, it's been an interesting ride. My interest, passion for what I playfully call the nocturnal meditations, which, by the way, there are actually 5 of those, and maybe I could say a little bit what the 5 actually are.
Because how thick the next bead is, I gotta put an extra knot in it.
It began almost as far back as my memory goes with a deep interest in my dream life. I always just had a very rich dream world. But then really in my early 20s, I had some truly
better.
profound experiences, and one in particular, which I believe I share in the book, Dream Yoga, was a game changer for me, a really before and after experience,
It
where
looks really good.
I had been
Really bad.
working as a hospital in a surgical unit, thinking about going to med school, and was doing a fair amount of reading in a relatively new literature at that time, the South material, the kind of developing New Age sort of thing, and I started having a fair amount of these kind of precognitive dreams of premonition and the like, and then during one really extraordinary magical period, Roger, it lasted about 2 weeks, my mind just kind of broke open into this really marvelous state, which at that point I have to say I thought it was an altered state, but I've come to now realize that actually it was a difference in the natural state, and in fact this is the altered state. But in short, what characterized this 2-week period were two things. One was my nighttime dream life just really took off. I had pretty much constant lucidity. Lucid dreams are, for your listeners, of course, that magical moment when you're in the dream and something triggers the recognition that, oh my gosh, this is a dream. So you actually attain lucidity, awareness, consciousness, and you still are in the dream. And so I started having lucid dreams pretty much constantly. And the other thing that was really compelling to me that ended up seeding the second book in this dream trilogy, the Dreams of Light book, was my daytime experience became correlatively more illusory, more dreamlike. And so this is a very interesting thing for me, Roger, because here's on one level my dreams were becoming more real. If I say it carefully, I could say my dreams were
This
becoming
one's so
more
thin I
real,
can't even put it on the needle.
And then conversely, my daytime experience was becoming less real. And this was a really interesting experience for, in fact, these 2 weeks. But then as I share it in the book, it became quite disconcerting because my footing, my grounding in reality was now being challenged. It really got to the point where I had a hard time distinguishing whether I was awake or dreaming. And that, because I didn't have the proper infrastructure for it, became quite unsettling. And it reminded me of what the famous psychiatrist R.D. Langland said, the mystic swims in the same ocean where the psychotic drowns. And I was starting to drown. So I had to shut it down because I really thought, instead of, hey, maybe this is a glimpse of awakened state, enlightenment, I said, hey, wait, maybe this is a glimpse of insanity. so I had to shut it down in order to just kind of regain my bearings, locate my footing in reality. And that began my search into a host of traditions, and I can pause for a second, but eventually led me to Buddhism, and then why Buddhism of so many of the traditions I've studied really spoke to me based on that experience.
Yeah, so you were having these experiences before almost anything was known about the universe.
Yeah, this is really important because I've since come to understand and appreciate the classic ending, both in Buddhism and Hinduism, this kind of pedagogical approach of understanding experience and realization. And I had the experience before I had the proper understanding. And so therefore I had to retrofit the understanding. It took me about 8-9 years till I finally landed in the tradition, in this case Buddhism, that spoke to me, that therefore really helped me understand, like, what was that? What was it that I really experienced? I had no idea. And so that's one reason I guess I can say I'm a card-carrying Buddhist, even though I consider myself really, as you know, Roger, more an integral person. I'm more a curist than a Buddhist. I'm more
That's a great word. I need to be quoting you.
Almost poked myself.
But I have to say that the Buddhist approach really spoke to me right at the outset, because as you know, etymologically the word Buddha comes from a Sanskrit root that literally means the awakened one. And the first time I read that, I was like, oh, that's compelling, like awake in relationship to what? So the more I dove into this incredibly noble tradition, the more it resonated with me, and then eventually it took me into 3-year retreat, which is where the next colossal dive into this topic occurred, because during this monumental training period, I had this extraordinary ability to work throughout the entire day with practices of what was called illusory form, working to see the world in a de-reified, illusory way, and then working with not only dream yoga but sleep yoga at night. And basically what was so brilliant about that for me was I finally was actually to reinstate the experiences in the context of this retreat that I had experienced spontaneously decades earlier. And that to me was like, whoa, this is definitely my baby. And so since then, the Thai practices have become a real passion for me because they really
My phone is
represent
dying,
a
so I will be back with the last steps later.
Spend about 25%